January meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're just waiting here for everyone to get in to the Zoom meeting. I'll wait about 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. I want to call this meeting, February meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is the approval of the January 25th minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Anyone have any? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Okay, Scott, is there a second? Okay. I'm right, I can't see, so you got it. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of the January 25th, 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand if you're on mute. Those opposed? Great. Before we go on to our next item of business, I'd like to take this time to announce that one of their commission members, Judy Olinger, has asked to tender her appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. She will be sorely missed. She was a great asset to this, to the commission. I thank her for, she was here for 7 years. I thank her for all of her time that she has volunteered and put to the commission. I welcome her well. She's just overwhelmed at work, and I wish her all the luck. And as I told her, I said, you know, don't be a stranger. I'd love to see you. But thank you, Judy, for everything that you did for the commission while you were here. That means this evening that our alternate, Martina, is a full voting member, and you see that she's kind of in the dark. That's okay. We have some,
All right, that's right.
we have some power, excuse me, some power lines that are down here in town, and it's affecting her. So the next item is any citizens' comments. Is there anyone out there who has any citizen comments?
So we do have Ron Thompson. He's been promoted. So go ahead, Ron.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, I've
Ron,
asked.
could you speak up, please? I can't, it's hard to hear you. Can you speak up or turn your volume up?
I will turn my volume up.
That's good, thank you.
Or is your speaker covered possibly?
No, one. There, how is this? Better?
Yes.
Thank you. I asked to address the Planning Commission tonight in regards to one of the remaining parcels that is being developed in the Twin Arch Business Park. It's been termed Lot 15, which is the remaining parcel with all of the barns and 2 houses that was occupied by Doc Full. King Sports, and I've kind of reached a point where I'm at differing opinions with the town staff and need to present this to the Planning Commission. King Sports Construction is proposing to purchase that remaining parcel, Lot 15, and they're planning to use the site as is. There are no building modifications nor are there going to be any new buildings constructed. And I believe Lot 15 qualifies as a non-conforming use possibly not even needing a site plan or zoning change of use, since it cannot be a change of use. To the crux of it, there are two houses on lot 15 that were constructed, one in 1955 and the other in 1959. The one constructed in 1955, 2310 Backacre, has been occupied as a private residence and was also a veterinary clinic. Doc Fall was a veterinary in the town of Mount Airy. He operated his veterinary practice between 1955 to 1989 while using the house also as his residence. In 1989, he sold his practice to Doc O'Brien and then used the veterinary clinic space as a land development business office, resulting in development of 4 sections of Twin Arch Business Park, Twin Arch Crossing, Brittany Manor, and then the proposed Twin Arch Business Center along Twin Arch Road. 2 houses have been continually occupied with the exception of a period of less than 1 year when Doc Full and his daughter moved to a new location. The house is currently occupied as a residence and temporary office for J&J Trash until their building on Lot 18A is completed. Town Code 112-45 Industrial District states that business offices and flex space does include a veterinary clinic. It also contains the language list, as I mentioned, veterinary clinics are allowed in industrial park and general office and a variety of other uses. It does state, paragraph D in section 112.45 does state residential uses will not be permitted on the same parcel of land with any permitted use. I do believe that this is pertinent only to newly established uses on a lot, because section 112-6 of the code, continuance of a non-conforming use, states any lawful use of land or structure existing at the time of adoption of this chapter or subsequent amendment of this chapter may be continued with the following limitations. Expansion of a non-conforming use. It lists conditions, but we are not expanding the non-conforming use. It lists non-conforming uses may not rebuild. There's no building work proposed. Discontinued non-conforming uses not reestablished after 1 year would eliminate the non-conforming use, but this use was established within the 1 year period. Substitution of non-conforming uses, not proposed. King Sports still wants to use the residential houses for their family. And the non-conforming structures meet the dimensional requirements for setbacks. Therefore, that's not. Therefore, since the property has been in continual use as a non-conforming residence since 1985 and 1959, and a veterinary clinic and then general office, and there are no buildings proposed for use of the property by King Sports Construction, I'm requesting that the non-conforming uses, the Planning Commission determine the non-conforming uses can continue per section 112 dash, I believe it's 62. My fingers were a little fat there. Didn't type it all in. It's 112-6. And even potentially whether or not there's a site plan required, because we're not intensifying or changing the use of it. And now I'm stuck. I had agreed to do some of the site plan work, got through where we're exempt from stormwater management, exempt from forest conservation, and the county has said that we're exempt from landscaping requirements because our limited disturbance is less than 5,000. So I am looking to the Planning Commission at this point in time as to their interpretation of the allowing a non-conforming use that was in existence since 1955 and 1959, probably before there was even a town code for zoning and development, allowing that to continue. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I'm going to first go to Tom and your interpretation of this.
So I don't know any of the facts, so
Okay,
I have no ability to dispute or agree with any of the facts that are set forth. So my answer, I caution, will take as true what Mr. Thompson has said. A couple of reactions. First of all, Section 112-49 sets forth circumstances in an I zone property where a site plan is required. And indeed, it does talk about where there is a change of use that involves constructing something. However, it goes on to say, or give it by way of example of what improvements would trigger this requirement on a change of use. It says such as parking, grading, etc. So it's not just triggered the site plan requirement where a change of use might not involve improvement to a building or a change in building. It seems to be triggered where there's any improvement on the site to include parking or grading. Now, I don't know one way or the other whether or not any of that's going to occur on this property or not. I would note that when you bring in a change of use or a new business, I think that in order to get a zoning certificate, at the end of the day, you're going to have to meet the new parking requirements, and perhaps some grading will be required. I don't know, but that would be my first question. The second issue, of course, is this a change of use, or is this a substitution of non-conforming use? What I understood we have now are some residences there that have been in continuous use from prior to the maybe the adoption of any zoning code in the town. But along with some business, a veterinarian clinic that might today qualify for an industrial zone. And what I understand is happening is that you're changing that out, keeping the residents, but changing that out and bringing now into this business. I think it's a turf business, if memory serves. They rehab turf, I think, from memory. That to me may well be a substitution of use, because it is a different use than the veterinarian clinic that had pre-existed. And that may well require the Board of Appeals to approve a special exception upon a showing, not just that the use is the same, you have to show that the use is less intensive to substitute a non-conforming use, because the intention of the non-conforming use ordinance is to ultimately eliminate them so that there's conformity within one zone. And you can't do that altogether, but when there's a substitution of non-conforming uses, and there's a lot of case law on this, a town can, and we do, say in our ordinance that the new non-conforming use coming in has to be less intensive and must be subject to findings to that effect by the Board of Appeals and the issuance of a special exception. So those are some of my thoughts. Again, I don't know all the facts, and I don't know, what's going to be done on the site. I don't know how long anything's been there or who's lived there for how long or what, but those are some of my impressions.
Sorry, I do have a couple questions, but is there anyone else from the, Leslie?
All really good points that Tom made. My question was, it's like similar, just in a more general way, which is, were we going to be presented with an actual, facts and what they're looking for. And is that, I guess, what's trying to be avoided here? But I don't see how we can just make a decision in a vacuum without getting the full information.
Anyone else have any questions? I have a couple. Ron, you said that in 1989, excuse me, that the veterinary practice was bought by Dr. O'Brien.
That is correct.
And at that point in time, it then became an office for the land development.
Doc Full used that as his office for the development of all of the land out there in Twin Arch.
Okay, and you also said at one time that he and his daughter both moved out of those houses?
They moved out, but renters were put back in within a year's span.
The renters were in there within a year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then there's a question on the chat. Is this the lot that has the concrete pens by the barn that seem to already have artificial turf stored in them?
Well, the horizontal silos, it is that parcel. Doc has allowed them to store some turf rolls in there until they're disposed of. Their means of disposal is to ship them to Arizona for lawns or to a recycling company.
Are there renters still in these houses?
Yes. There is a renter. I do not know the people renting Gail Hawkins, Doc's daughter's house, a small gray house. But a worker from J&J Trash is renting the residential portion of Doc Full's house, where J&J Trash's office is.
I kind of agree with that. I understand your predicament and frustration, Ron, but I think at the least, I need to kind of, like Leslie says, I don't know that we have all of the information here. I know it's exempt from different things, but I can't make a decision at this point right now. Staff has said that there are some things that some issues that need to be straightened out. I understand that's frustrating, but we kind of go with their staff and we don't kind of push them to do things. And I don't feel comfortable making a decision about this right now at this time. I don't know how anybody else feels. I'd like to hear your opinions.
I would agree. This is supposed to be some citizens' comments, not the time period to make a case for something.
Okay, I agree.
Right. And besides, it's not on the agenda, so other residents would not know that we were going to be discussing this unless they happen to be on.
So so what I'm hearing is that we need to put this on the agenda for the March, so that the public does know about this and that they can also comment if they want to. So I think that's the best we can do right now, Ron.
It might be helpful if something were put in writing, like a request setting forth all of the facts, perhaps with those with personal knowledge of any of it, to sign off and say that they could attest to it. And then it might help as well if I, on those facts, deliver to this body an opinion.
Tom, would leases, electrical bills for the people that are named on those leases for those different buildings, that would be part of this packet that should be coming in to prove that these have been occupied continuously for more than a year for all the different parcels. Electric bills, leases, something.
Water service, which of course the town has the ability to verify, I would think.
Well, I don't know how long, has their wells been abandoned or they've been abandoned just recently?
Oh, are their own wells?
I think they're.
I'm not
almost-
sure. I'm not sure, Ron.
They were just abandoned late last fall as part of fulfilling the condition. You won't have water and sewer because they were on private water and sewer just last fall, late last fall. We completed one of the requirements of the Twin Arch Business Park, which was to connect them to public water and sewer and seal
That's
the
why I meant-
wells.
That's
destroy
why I
the septic.
mentioned the electric bills and leases for those buildings, to give some documentation. Because we as the town, I don't know that it's been occupied continuously for a year. I could beg to differ that it hasn't been, at least the one residence hasn't been occupied for a year. But as a residence.
So I think what we're saying, Ron, this is in the citizen comments, and we're not going to make a decision at this meeting. However, we will put it on the agenda for the March meeting. Please come with something in writing as far as showing the timeline for all of these for the two residences, so that we can make a decision, and it will be on the agenda in March. Is that, yes, Leslie?
Shouldn't we get this in advance? Shouldn't it be given to John so it can be delivered in our packet
That would be my
ahead of
plan
time?
within the
Yes.
next 2 weeks to get
Okay.
that to you.
Great,
Okay, that would be great. If we could have it in the next 2 weeks, that would be awesome.
thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens' comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to the Carroll and Frederick County planners. Is Tim here, Tim Goodfellow?
No, but Hannah is.
I know, I was gonna ask first, I wanted to make sure Hannah. Okay, we'd like to hear from Hannah. Hello, Hannah, how are you today?
Good. How are you guys doing? Hope you enjoyed the snow this morning.
Yeah, it was wonderful, thank you.
Hi, Hannah.
At the county, the planning department, not much of many updates from the January meeting that I gave you. The big push right now is the residential text amendments going through the planning commission. That was introduced to them at our February 3rd work session with them. That was an evening meeting. If you want to catch up with that, that is on the meeting portal. I think that'll be discussed again at our, I think it's March 15th, our March 15th Planning Commission meeting, and we'll keep trucking through that until they approve it and it then is forward to the county commissioners for adoption. And I think that's pretty much it since last month.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Hannah? Seeing none, Hannah, thank you so much for attending.
Of course,
We always value you being here, and thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. Have a good meeting.
Next item is the discussion of the master plan. We're going to start with chapter 4. We do not have anything else on the agenda, so we're just going to dive right into the master plan. John, do you have anything before we start this?
Not right now. Like I say, I think we just need to just sort of take this line by line almost and see if there's any additions or adjustments to this first chapter that we're reviewing. Again, we still are going to have the work session on the 4th of March, starting at 6 p.m. And we are going to have hopefully the Joint Commission person will be available for that webinar. So I'm hoping that'll be, fruitful as well.
All right, before we start on chapter 4, which if everybody has that one, the package that John printed out for us, if you can look on the page 23, is the statement of the town goals and objectives. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read this or not. If you haven't, then that's fine. We'll go over this at the workshop. Has anyone had a chance to go through this? Shake, yes, no? I'd like to kind of start there before we go into chapter 4. So if we go down to the it defines the goals and objectives. I don't think there's a problem with that. We'd like to keep that one in there. The town goals were actually introduced in the 2003 master plan. So these were the town goals of 2013. I want us to go through them and see if actually, if they still are, if they're still in, we can still use them today in our this is unbelievable, 2023 master plan. So the first goal was better manage the effects of regional growth on the town of Mount Airy. You have 4 different implementation strategies. Take a leading role in discussions with all 4 counties regarding the growth management, which we have done. I think we want to continue to try to do that. I know it's kind of been difficult at times, but I actually think that that is important for us, especially because of our location. The next strategy is to pursue opportunities to attract commercial and industrial development, to provide a necessary tax base for balanced growth as the regional center. Emphasis should be on the maximum utilization of existing vacancies within the town and to minimize the need for additional water wherever possible and to conserve natural resources. Leslie, were you going to say something?
Well, I was looking earlier at chapter 4, or actually at this little handy chart here, and I'm wondering if that completely is consistent with it. Well, for example, we have our priorities of downtown and infill development. I mean, we also have priorities for commercial development. Is it a goal to have industrial development? I guess it depends on what we mean by that. I'm just sort of thinking of it in terms of other parts of the plan and whether it's consistent with, other.
Right. Which chart were you referring to? Oh, the implementation chart. Okay.
Yeah. And I was looking at chapter 4 of that 2013 master plan implementation status action plan.
I think there is industrial vacant property out there. And I think we should not necessarily make it as high a priority as the commercial, but I still think it's an infill. It's vacant land that needs to be needs to be managed and filled. So
should we include in this section that infill is the priority, or like part of the goal is to use the?
I think we're still. I think we're still in that. We haven't completed it. I think we still need to
right, but that's not stated on this page. That's what I mean. Is it?
Can I confirm exactly what page we're on? Because I felt like I was doing something and I missed what you guys were talking, where you started from.
Roxanne did it.
Just want to make sure, because I missed it.
From chapter 4, she switched us to town goals starting on page 23.
I'm sorry.
What page again?
23.
23, okay.
Yeah.
No worries. I just want to.
She's just trying to mess with you.
It's okay. She did a great job. Good job.
Yeah, she did.
Sorry.
Well, we have Tony's on the line too, and he's probably looking at chapter 4 going, where was I? Wait. What am I looking
right.
at? So,
23, page 23 of what? I mean, we keep on jumping around.
There's
between
many,
different-
yeah. So what are you referring to, Leslie? I know you're
Wait.
referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually on the wrong. I'm on the wrong page too.
Okay.
I was looking at the town goals, but I'm in the wrong chapter. Roxanne, why don't you tell us what page you want us to be on?
I mean, the town goals is page 7.
okay.
The town goals I have are on page 23.
Well, that's what I had, but
Yeah.
but that now that I look at it, that's, well, maybe it's not chapter. That's actually chapter 1, not chapter 4.
It comes before chapter 1. I'm sorry. If you look at the table of contents, you've got the executive summary, and then after that is the table of contents. And it says, town goals, page 22. So it's actually 23. Where it says master plan, process, goals and objectives. So that's why we were on 23.
Okay, found it.
And Leslie, you were on the comprehensive master plan, the status, the implementation.
I was
section.
on page 23, believe it or not. I don't know how I
Okay.
managed to get that right.
But what you were talking about was the implementation status.
That's right.
And that I think was what John was asking, what page is that on?
I just want to make sure what page we were on inside the master plan.
Right, which is 23.
Because I was searching, I thought you were talking about the implementation schedule, so I was searching for that. And I thought we were starting inside the master plan itself. So we're on 23, so that's
We're on
okay.
23.
That's good.
The second implementation strategy, which is B, and it does mention industrial development.
Right, and it does not mention infill. That was my point.
Well, and again, MXD is not industrial and it's not commercial. I mean, it's sort of a mix of,
And that's
So
not even
maybe-
in here.
Well,
Maybe
that's
should
not,
have-
I mean, that's gonna be something new we're gonna have to put in there, because that wasn't in the 2013 master plan. It does say
understand.
though, in this, in B, in the implementation, it does say emphasis should be on the maximum utilization of
Okay.
existing vacancies.
So I'm wondering, should we add in mixed development in there is what I'm curious. I think we should be adding that in there. Commercial, industrial development. I mean, commercial and residential is more like what MXD, it's not really, I mean, I guess there could be light industrial in there, but I just, okay.
Well, the other thing is that these are the primary goals of the town. So what do we really want? What are the goals? Like what are the goals?
John, can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
Yes,
I'm having technical issues over here. I do not have a copy of whatever you all are looking at. So can you email it to me?
yeah, I gave you the big binder, all 8.5 by 11. It was the master plan and a paper copy. It's got a big binder clip on it.
So it's in that packet?
Yeah, it's on page 23 of that giant
All right.
bound. So you should have it. I think. It is online as well. What? There you go. Thank you, Lindy.
All right.
Martina, can you see there? You okay? Okay.
so. John,
I'm getting
just
there.
Okay. Need a headlamp.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
So should we add, pursue opportunities to attract commercial and industrial development? And put in there as well as mixed use development?
That's what I'm asking. That's what I feel like.
Leslie, wasn't your question about infill? You wanted to see infill.
Yeah,
included,
and
right?
I guess the question is whether this thing that says emphasis should be on the maximum utilization of existing vacancies, whether that means infill, or whether we should just be consistent because we use that term elsewhere, the infill term.
We can, that's fine with me. It will make it more consistent. So we should see emphasis should be on the utilization of infill.
Maximum utilization of existing vacancy.
Emphasis should be on developing infill properties in the commercial, mixed use and industrial zones. Does that sound good?
Sounds good for right now.
Okay. You make a note of that, John? I mean, we're going to be revisiting this, so.
Right. But we'll highlight it and leave it yellow for the next copy that comes out.
Okay.
Um,
The next strategy was to reach agreements with each county regarding the phasing growth so that the town is assured county cooperation with orderly growth.
Well, here's one that goes back to the point that Scott made at the last meeting, which was, so if we haven't been doing this, why not? And how do we make it happen? So what we know is that Tim is really, really busy and never comes to the meetings. And when he does, he and Bill are, well, discuss, but there doesn't really seem to be any cooperation, I guess. You know, it's not like they don't, like Frederick County doesn't really appear to be listening to us when with their extensive residential development, you know, coming pretty close to our border. Carroll County, it's harder to say. I mean, at least we have Hannah who comes to our meetings, you know, but I don't, you know, we have that weird thing with the IDA and personalized share. And so I don't really know what this actually means anymore in reality, this C. Yeah.
Okay. Leslie, Lindy, there's your hand raised. Did you want to say something, Lindy?
No, I just agree with Leslie. It's like, well, this sounds great. It's great line, but nothing's happened in how many zillions of years?
It seems like we keep trying, we get started and then nothing really comes to fruition. So do we want to just totally eliminate that as an implementation because it's just not happening? Or should we word it a different way? Should we seek the cooperation through the county zoning and through the people that instead of a liaison, should we go directly to someone on the county planning and see if I know that they're trying to do regional stuff too. Frederick County is trying to get different communities together and include Mount Airy in it, but it just never seems to happen. So does that mean, I guess we need to be the squeaky wheel and try to start this venture, to start us to get cooperation and to talk regionally? I don't think we'll.
Probably.
I would say that some of this is maybe starting to happen. Carl and I actually, are you familiar with Kai Hagen or Hagen?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so he's running for office right now, and he actually spoke to Carl and I, basically asked a very general question, you know, what can Frederick County do for you? And the response was, we're underrepresented. No one from Frederick County even cares that we exist, so we need you to be more involved. So hopefully moving forward, maybe that message went somewhere and it will actually have some good.
And you said sorry.
He's running for a county office in Frederick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so he's running, but he's not elected.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's good. And isn't it, didn't we hear, I think it was actually Tim who has told us that the counties are supposed to amend their plans when they're not consistent with the municipalities. So maybe it's that we, like this is a good goal, but maybe we have to, in the implementation part, we have to actually have very concrete steps about how we're going to pursue this. Like what Pam
Yes,
just said,
I
that would
think
be
you're-
one way of, of doing it, but might need to be more than one avenue to
Yeah.
try to.
Yes, I agree.
Part of that responsibility, I think, lies on town council. I mean, it's our responsibility to sort of reach out to some of these leaders and say, hey, this is what we need. And if we're
Right.
not doing that, then this will never get done. You know, that section.
Right.
So,
Okay, well, good.
So we're going to keep that in there. However, we're going to ask more participation from the town council to get regional dialogue started.
Yep.
And I don't really know where to go with D either. Seek cost-sharing solutions with both Frederick and Carroll counties for the provisions of infrastructure improvements to accommodate any additional growth. I think that kind of C and D kind of go together. In the fact that the council needs to seek, also Carroll and Frederick County with their infrastructure, because it does lie on both sides. Keep in mind, we'll be revisiting the goals. If there are any other goals that you think,
Martini, you have electricity.
oh, it's on, yay!
Awesome.
If there's any other things, any other goals we feel better manage the effects of regional growth on the town of Mount Airy in the future, just always keep the goals with you. Just keep writing stuff down, different ideas down as to what you're looking for. There's only 5 goals. We'll go through them quickly. Number 2, mitigate the impacts of regional growth on the town character. The first strategy is create identifiable boundaries between municipal and non-municipal areas. I think we've been trying to do this. We're trying to get buffers. We're asking for buffers with the counties. We're not having much success, but we are at least trying to ask for buffers in those areas.
Yeah, I would definitely keep this one.
And the second one, encourage protection of farmland outside the proposed town limits. Seeing that is accommodate regional traffic through the town with minimal conflict on local streets, utilizing traffic calming techniques. I think we need to continue to put that in as a strategy as well.
Yes.
The next one, work with the state highway administration to upgrade state roads within the town boundaries and to install stop signs or traffic calming devices where needed. I think as much as possible, we are working with the state highway. John, is it, and Barney, is that, it seems to me that it's very hard to do.
Are you talking about Main Street? Or are you talking about any
I'm
kind
talking
of?
about the state highways through the town. Yeah, so Main Street mostly.
Right. I think in the past, the town did sort of start down that avenue. I can't speak about that too much. I mean, Barney would probably be a better source. And I don't know if he's on tonight or not.
He said he was going to be. Yes, he's there. I see him, the caboose.
I'm here. Sorry, I was trying to get the PDF for Tony.
Oh.
Yeah, I sent him the actual chapters real quick.
Yeah.
So improvements to Main Street and that state highway, just
We
the
have one of
coordination.
the strategies that's being continued from the 2003 master plan that was in 2013. It says work with the state highway administration to upgrade state roads within the town boundaries and install stop signs or traffic calming devices where needed. I mean, how are we working with the state roads? I mean, really the only state road we have within the town, correct me if I'm wrong, is Main Street, is Route 808, correct?
And 27.
And
And 27.
Yeah.
Right. And we own the portion where that roundabout has been talked about in front of Chick-fil-A, up from Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. That's actually the town-owned portion of Main
Oh.
Street.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. State
Do we
highway.
own-
Go
I was
ahead.
going to ask, do we own all of 144 as well?
Yeah, that was turned over to the town
Okay.
back some years ago. Yep.
Yeah.
About 20 years ago.
has there ever been any decision or have we ever tried to get 808? Or
So,
is it we don't want it?
Since I've been here, we looked into it a couple times. It was actually the state highway was encouraging the town to take it, and at the same time looking at doing a downtown revitalization, talking about burying lines and things like that. When they were talking about a price tag, it was like 25 million, and where the town would have to put up 20% of that. So
Okay.
5 million was a pretty large price tag, and I think it was the town that just kind of said, "Hey, we're not ready for that."
All right.
I think the state would be glad if you wanted to move forward with that. But it is a price tag.
So that would be, okay, so that would actually be under E, acquire additional land on the border town. Well, no, I'm sorry, that's something different. Should we put that in as a goal?
It could be part of D, right? So instead of
Yes.
stop signs, traffic calming, we want to talk about burying poles and basically doing a rehab to all the sidewalks. And I feel like if we're going to go down that avenue, we should really get back to the Flatiron and what are we doing there? If we're going to, I was just looking at the concept plan today down the hallway, have the new Flatiron building and the additional parking that's on Main Street and widening Main Street there to accommodate our current traffic that we're having issues with currently. I mean, there's I've waited multiple times here recently for large tractor trailers and trucks, which of course aren't supposed to be on Main Street, to come down past the Flatiron because they can't get by with the other cars they're currently parked there.
So John, why can't those improvements happen though without us taking ownership of Main Street?
Because we don't own Main Street. I mean, I guess we can. I mean, we could put in curbing and sidewalk if we wanted to demolish the building and put in additional sidewalk and parking spaces. I would think we'd have to get approval through state highway to do so.
Right.
And again, we could do that, piecemealing it. It's really tough to hear you, Pam. I don't know if anybody else is having problems hearing
Yeah,
Pam.
a little bit.
So I don't know if
Martina,
you
you
can.
have your hand raised. Do you want to say something? Okay.
I was just wondering, given what happened out on the road today, this is the third street pole or electricity pole to get taken out by someone who sped along Main Street and lost control of their car. I don't know if this is something for Streets and Roads to also contribute to, but if we take ownership of Main Street, we would have an easier time, I would think, of doing traffic calming or some kind of barrier to protect these electric poles that are out here.
I mean,
So I
if
don't
we
know.
were to spend 5 million, why wouldn't we spend 5 million to bury the poles?
It's been asked before when they were tearing up the roads to do
Right.
the water, someone asked about burying the poles and there was concern about burying the wires. There's concern about, electric wire being next to water pipe.
Right, that's why you couldn't do it, is because
Right.
and Diane Gleason brought that up, and that you just couldn't do it because it was about the water.
Yeah.
Well,
So I'm sure, I mean, Barney, from an engineering standpoint,
Barney?
there is another option for where the wires could go, right?
Yeah, so it can happen. It just has to be coordinated, planned. Keep in mind that $25 million price tag that was about 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
And that was only the downtown zone bearing the poles. So beyond that, like where Martina is talking about, those poles would still be standing.
Yeah, but is there something we can put so if someone were to skid the way that they do inexplicably, that they would hit that first before they hit the poles? Because the road curves and then there's a big white space where the white line is and the sidewalk. So something could go there. I mean, it's just something to think about.
I think part of the problem is we need to have stuff there and there's not enough road, there's not enough space to put the stuff that we need to have to do the things that we want to do, I think. But I think John, you're correct in that that should go there. Work with the state highway administration to upgrade the state roads within the town boundaries. And look to refurbish, like this, you said, the sidewalks and burying the poles. I mean, that's a good goal to have, I think. The next goal is to acquire additional land on the border of the town to establish green space and a physical boundary between the constraints of, within the physical constraints of the town budget. I think those last 5 or 6 words, the physical constraints of the town budget. At this point in time, I don't know if there's the possibility to even think about doing that. John, do you have any idea? I mean, we've talked about this a lot of different ways, and it seems that, you know, one of the ways to get the boundaries and the buffer that we need is to purchase some land and then put the buffer in there.
I mean, yeah, looking at our zoning map in front of me, yeah, clearly there's definitely parcels that we could potentially purchase, but it's getting that owner of that property to be willing to sell it to the town to create that buffer. You know, again, you know, it's just coming up with an agreement that everybody is applicable, willing to take on, you know, I mean, and just even be able to contact some of the people. They don't live currently in town, they live out of state, and the difficulties on trying to establish communication and trying to make sure we go in with a very strong offer. You know, they have to look at the development potential of that property, get estimates, you know, multiple estimates, and be able to then come to town council for them to vote for that money to purchase that property, and hopefully still have the owner still in the same boat that we are, that are willing to sell to us. So it's a challenging effort, or can be challenging.
Possible but challenging.
Possibly.
Any thoughts? Anyone else have any thoughts about E?
I don't know if we can give them some kind of tax. See, I don't think I don't know all the legalities of that.
I think that would have to come through the council.
Right.
The third goal we had for the master plan in 2013 was to protect existing naturally sensitive areas from detrimental effects of development by disallowing development in these areas. We really haven't had that much development between now and 2013 and now. I think that's still in play today, and I think that we can still put that in as a goal.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Leslie?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely too.
Right. Protect the town's groundwater resources by increasing the wellhead protection and undertaking measures to prevent groundwater pollution. Increase water recharge areas by acquiring land, establishing additional conservation areas, both within and outside the town's corporate boundary. Those efforts would also be compatible with providing additional open space to meet public recreational needs. Barney, I'm going to ask you to speak on the groundwater resources and wellhead protection.
Sure. I mean, most of the town is a wellhead protection area.
Okay.
But increasing our, again, for example, in the Frederick County side, if we bought up a couple farms there, we can increase our water rights that we could potentially get additional water supply out of our existing wells. You know, so I think that was part of reason for this goal, or, you know, one of the reasons for this goal to be in there.
Extra water and open space, correct?
And open space, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So purchasing land usually will help you with both of those.
Okay. So that one seems to be something that's a priority still.
Yeah, purchasing land is a good long-term solution, or for some of these things, but they do come at a pretty good cost too to begin with.
The next C, that's implementation in the goal 3 is to concentrate development so there is minimal conflicts between man-made and natural environment. I think that's a strategy that we're still trying to, when we do start looking at other developments, I think that that's something that we do try to keep in mind, and I want to keep that in there as well.
Yep.
Page 25, establish land uses that are compatible and designated with open space and historic areas. I think we continue to do that as well. We have worked on doing that, and I think we did that well in the 2013 plan, and want to continue that into 2023.
Could you just change it to say, rather than open space or historic areas, open space and historic areas?
Yes.
That's good.
There's some feedback coming in through this one.
Okay, John scared me. I'm here in the town hall, and he came up and scared. I think that's on. Implementation E is to recognize the value of existing historic structures by providing proper buffering or preservation of immediately surrounding land. I think we're still working on that. F is maintain newly established design guidelines for development that maintain the town's historic character. And we have worked on the design guidelines. I think we should continue to revisit them and look at them, but we have been working on those.
Right, well, but you might want to take out newly established and just say established, since it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Goal 4 is to provide a quality living environment in the town of Mount Airy. A is to concentrate commercial land uses in areas that best serve local and regional markets. I think we have started to do that, and we're trying to do that. One of the ways I think that we've started to do that is by the mixed use and where we want that mixed use to go. Maintain quality neighborhoods, including historic Main Street for the town's residents. I'm just going to go through these. Stop me if anyone has anything to say. Maintain public facilities and services and focus development on infill lots of record with water allocations and priority redevelopment to ensure we do not exceed our infrastructure capacity. D is encourage neighborhood and community connections by integrating pedestrian bicycling networks throughout the town. I think we're continuing to do that, and we want to continue to do that. Ensure any future development fosters an attractive visual character and sense of place that is evident in the older, more established areas of town. I think the vision plan for downtown really showed that, or the vision plans that we had really showed how we could foster the historic areas visually. C, Mount Airy's Planning Commission will create old and new land use and zoning classifications that support the town's continued economic development, as well as provide the opportunity for infill development. And I think we need to continue that one as well. D, attract businesses into the town that can provide jobs locally, such as a professional park. We're trying. E, Mount Airy's Economic Development Commission will work with Frederick County Department of Business Development and Retention and Carroll County Department of Economic Development to further encourage economic development within the town limits. with the focus on maximizing of existing vacant structures, redevelopment of commercial properties within the town borders, and continue to track commercial light industrial development for balanced growth as a regional center. They started working on that in our continuing, and we need to continue to work on that as well. And last but not least, the town will commit to making business viable by fostering a cooperative level of support and dedicating resources and to promote unity of purpose within the town. These initiatives in turn will support the marketing of the town as a quality destination for living, working, and shopping. I think that is still something that we need to continue to implement and strive to implement. I think if you look at that, a lot of these things that we had from 2003, believe it or not, into 2013 are good action goals and good strategies that we need to continue. Some of them need to be tweaked a little bit, but all in all, I think that there's goals and objectives along with their strategies are still what we're striving for today. Okay, now, page 55, chapter 4. Land use and zoning. Hopefully by the time the 2013 master plan comes around, the census will be updated.
2023.
Yeah. You know, they were gonna have the results in April and they've moved it up again, right?
I'll have to find out the exact date that they're supposed to get those numbers back to us.
So this is going to take reviewing the existing land use and zoning. I'm not going to go through the first part. Some of that is will be updated as the census is updated. And also, we'll look, John, you'll look into the history as to the activity and the different portions of the development activity that's going on between Carroll and Frederick County.
Yes.
In looking at chapter 4, does anyone have anything to say before we continue? Leslie, did you say?
No, I didn't say anything.
I want to make sure that we have the upgraded inventory for the vacant land, the residential. Of course, it says the residential is the largest land use. 62% is in 2013. And industrial and commercial use totaled only 12%. I think we've increased that, but I still don't think it's a healthy. If you look at the circular graph of the existing use, you can see that there's a lot of, we definitely are over half residential.
So Roxanne,
Yes.
these graphs, we don't have any breakdown, do we, of like property sizes or fair market value and stuff like that, do we?
No, and we did not have that in this in the 2013.
Right. I'm just saying in terms of, you know, it's a lot of housing, but it's like, what type of housing is it? But we're gonna have to do that this time, so.
Right.
I don't know, that's good. That discussion is going to be kind of relevant with this discussion. So
Yes.
when's your person going to present to us? The person
We
you
were
know.
gonna try to do her, we're gonna try to get her in March 4th if we could. If we can't, then I'm gonna shoot for April, the next workshop in April.
Okay.
Because then you'll also see the different graphs that the state of Maryland has as to the discrepancy between, like you said, the type of housing that we have, the type of commercial buildings that we have, as well as our rental, as well as the discrepancy in the rental area of the town. Most of chapter 4, other than what we're going to have to see in the housing element, is going to just be updated. I think the only subdivision I think
Brittany Manor?
would be added is Brighton Brittany Manor.
Brittany Manor, yeah. That's
That's the only real subdivision that we've had. As far as the vacant land inventory, the graph that's it's in the chart. We somehow need to also put the mixed use in there. John, how we're going to identify the properties that could possibly be mixed use.
And possibly divide it up into different zones too, and have another map or graph showing, how much
Yes.
actual, I mean, that's what we have up here, but we'll have to add the MXD to that graph. Okay.
And then I don't know if you could, most of chapter 4 has to do with activity that happened between 03 and 13. If you go to page 61, I think this is kind of the start of what the housing element that we'll be working with. You notice that it has the Mount Airy housing mix, low density residential, medium, and high density. High density being the townhouses, medium single family with a lot of a 1/4 acre. Well, it should be 1/8 to a 1/4 acre. And the low density is 1/3 to a 1/2 acre. And you can see where our housing, the majority of it is in the low density residential. Which, when you see the housing breakdown, there will be a change with that. The other thing that we need to address, if you go, I don't know what page it is, it's the next chart. It says existing zoning. We know that there will be some people, some property owners that would like to have their property rezoned. And I think we need to, I think that we need to put out a plan as to how and when we're going to send those requests out. I think the sooner the better. I don't know how many requests are going to come in. And we do have to hear those requests along with working on the other parts of the master plan. So does anyone have any suggestions as to how, I wasn't here the last time, how was this implemented, Lindy? the last time as far as the property owners requesting rezoning. With,
I think we had a list of we had a list of property owners who were requesting, and we just went down the list. And Leslie, do you remember anything about it?
I don't think we didn't send anything out.
No, we didn't send anything out. We had a list of who
No,
applied.
I thought that's what Roxanne said. So yeah, they, you know, they probably go through John, through the staff. They
Yeah.
apply, they let them know that they want to be considered for rezoning.
I've been reached out to already by 4 individual property
Yeah, I'm
owners who
sure
are
you
looking
have.
to get rezoned.
okay.
Again, they're, I have to look into, what's required. I mean, they have to submit a request. They have to submit their documentations for why they want to rezone, along with, possible maps, et cetera. I have to look at exactly what's going to be required. I think there's something on our website. I need to review that, make sure it's up to date with all the proper items for rezoning. And then I would bring that to you for your vote for recommendation. I think it might have to go to the town council. Is that correct?
Well, the whole plan goes to
The whole plan, yeah.
Yeah, but the actual formal request, it's almost like Bosler property when they came in for rezoning. I mean, ultimately, it would have to, and again,
Okay,
Tom, I don't know,
sure.
Tom, were you here with the last master plan? No? Okay.
Well, let's put it
Toward
this
the
way.
end,
Yeah.
toward the end.
Let's put it this way. After everything that the planning commission does, and the town council did come in, we had one group meeting, I guess it was, to actually discuss some of the, I don't know if there were discrepancies. There was one, I even mentioned it not too long ago, where, it had to do with Doc Schwartz is his name, Boaz, the eye doctor, and he's in the
NP.
yeah, and so he wanted that change. So there was, some of those folks wanted to be limited commercial instead of
CC, I think is what they were asking for, or
no,
NP.
no, they were asking for
NP.
instead of neighborhood professional. Initially, they had put in for neighborhood professionals. Somebody gave them the great idea that they should actually ask for limited commercial, which I totally disagreed with, but it was going to go. It was actually voted to go. And then actually the town council, that was one of the things we discussed at the meeting. They were like, no. I was like, yay. But that was sort of midstream. I can't remember what triggered it, but it's probably, a good idea. But at the very end, the town council has to approve the plan, just like master plan, just like they would approve an ordinance that we recommend to them. So I don't really recall, and there's no individual, the thing with Bosler property was completely different because it's whatever you call it, midstream.
Correct.
So yeah, it's not like they're going to be approving or disapproving of every individual property owner who wants to be rezoned. Though we may want to, as a group, after we do our thing, we may want to have town council come in, or however we want to do it, and have that discussion rather than wait until the end, and have, if there's anything that could be controversial or any, disagreement, you might as well deal with it before you go, you give it, and they're like, well, we don't like this and this and this, so we're not gonna approve it. So,
Right.
so yeah, so at some point, yeah.
So I think it'd be some kind of a staff report along with, the owner requesting the rezoning at that point in time during the master plan, that they would come and present in front of you
Yeah.
their request,
Exactly.
just like it was of Oslo. It's just that we're at the master plan time, and this is when they would do that. And again,
Yes.
we can do that as one work session, and that's when everybody who wants to present and rezone.
Yeah,
comes
well, that
in.
would depend on how many there are, but
Yeah.
possibly.
Right. But that would be how I would think we should be.
Yeah, that
moving
is
forward.
actually how they did come in and present and try
Right,
to
present their
convince us
case.
why we should do that, yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right avenue. And again, I've been reached out by 4 as it is currently.
Okay.
They're asking. So, and I'll look at our schedule and see where I can actually, put that in. I think it's already part of the schedule for that, the work sessions.
Oh, the schedule that you, yeah.
So who does the onus of approving, if someone comes in and wants to request a change, is the onus on the town to show why that may or may not be a good decision, or is it on the onus of the person to say, to convince the town that it should be? I mean, it's a subjective decision from the town council as to whether or not it happens. But where does it lie? If you can show an example, if I can show an example in town that's similar to my example of my request, is it? I mean, Tom's looking at me and he's shaking his head. And I'm thinking, is it a legal burden of the town to prove that there is dissimilarities to those scenarios, or is it just a subjective decision that we just don't think that's a great idea?
Of the latter, this is a legislative decision. Ultimately, the rezoning that will occur, if it occurs, by the town council, and courts do not disturb purely legislative decisions. And that's what comprehensive rezonings are. That's what master plan is about. So it is very much in your discretion. You don't have to do it. You don't have to give a reason not to do it, although obviously there are probably good planning reasons to, at least describe your result and why you're doing it. But yeah, you're probably at one of your most, your freedom is the highest when you're dealing with these kind of decisions.
Each one does not have to have a public hearing rezoning, because we're doing it because it's all together in the comprehensive. It'll be done at one time.
Yeah, the plan will have public hearings, and I can't remember how many we had, but I'm sure that it was a few, not just one.
Well, and during that request, like you're saying, whoever comes in with a request, they're going to have to submit the adjourner list and et cetera. So all the people that are adjoining that property asking for a rezoning, they'll be getting a notification of the request from that owner to rezone.
And they can come or Zoom.
Right, and they can come to the public hearing or the Zoom meeting to either agree or disagree from their position. So it's very similar to what Paso and how that went. It's just more of a whole bunch right together.
Yeah, that was just, more, but yeah. So I think in terms of what Scott was asking, there's, obviously what Tom said was completely true. But it reminded me of something that's a little bit different, but when we have, because we also have a, what do you call it when you annex? We have a section where there's like future annexations of properties, and they'll have landowners from surrounding counties who may want to be, annexed in, and then, but they want to be annexed in at the zone that they want to be in. So they might come and say, oh, I want to be annexed in as commercial, right? And now, like, they're in the county, they're residential or they're agricultural. So, it's just another interesting thing. And I remember I can't remember what it was, but there was a property that was, I don't know, it was on to be like something, I don't know, limited commercial or commercial, but that was actually higher than the zone that it was in the county. So we decided you don't upzone it before you bring it in, because then you can never downzone it, because then that could potentially be a taking. So you keep it, even if you eventually want to give them commercial, you don't need to do it on the annexation. You wait until you annex them in kind of at the equivalent of what they are in the county. And then someday, once they're in, then they can later put in to be rezoned. And if the town, if that matches the master plan at that time, then that can maybe happen. But so it's just, it's that whole thing about, not taking the value away. And so don't give it to them because you can't take it away once you give it to them. It's going to be a lot harder. So, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think what I'm going to do, or what we need to do is, since we are going to have the workshop on Thursday, I don't want to continue on the 4th. we will continue on 4. And we need to look at the zoning, the existing zoning, the 2 charts a little bit closer. Look over those, the land use and the zoning, to see if we
So
think
when you
there's,
say charts, are you talking about the charts? Oh, wait,
Yes.
you're talking about the
I'm
map?
sorry, the
Zoning map.
Zoning
the
map.
maps, I'm sorry, the zoning maps, thank you, Leslie. Yeah, the charts we know are gonna be upgraded.
Okay.
And then the vacant land inventory.
The vacant land inventory and the maps. And that's, I promise, I won't do it, I won't do a switcheroo on you.
Okay.
So basically, the back part of chapter 4, where it starts with the land use zoning and the vision, and then it starts with all the properties. Just
I
keep
might
this-
have a little more.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Sorry, I was talking.
Okay.
Okay.
And keep those goals kind of out in front of you all the time. And when you think of something, once again, look at the implementation strategies. Keep all that out in front of you. And when you have the time to go over it again, look at it and see, oh, we need to add this, or oh, we need to add that.
Yeah, it's a good idea, Roxanne. And also as we're going through stuff and yeah.
You know, highlight something that needs to be a goal, or we need to put that in as an implementation. Because, you know, we could be here all night and it's nearing 8:30 and it's getting colder. I don't know why I'm saying it's getting colder, so you can drive home because you all are home.
Except for you.
Well, I'm not that far. So let's, we definitely will have the workshop on the 4th. And I should know by next week if Victoria is coming then or in April.
Okay.
So the other thing are the future items. John, do you want to go over those?
Sure, let me pull that back up 1 second. There's that window.
You have it.
Excuse me. So yeah, so we have, of course, Twin Arch Business Park, lot 16A, which is priority install. I think you saw that as a concept plan. It was the one that's doing emergency vehicle vinyl wrapping, along with the restaurant element that we approved to allow a restaurant of under 3,000 feet or less in that same in the industrial area. And again, there's like a business with a bunch of branch businesses that are feeding off of that larger priority install. So I think that'll, once that gets built, that'll be fully developed and occupied. Twin Arch Business Center and Twin Arch Business Center, both, one's amended plat, the consolidation of the multiple lots along Twin Arch Road. And Twin Arch Business Center is it's a multi-building facility down on the left-hand side as you're heading towards the bridge. It is zoned industrial. Again, and that's been proposed for multiple buildings, and they're more of a strip style businesses, you know. And then again, we're talking about the master plan work session on March 4th. I guess the next planning commission meeting is on March the 30th.
Okay, the business centers, would that be coming next in March?
Not positive if that's going to be coming in next March, possibly, depending on, have to verify comments, et cetera, to make sure that everything's been addressed. But if it, depends on, it might be March or it might be April. April by the latest.
Okay, and we will hear the thing about the Kings
Sports will have Ron will be on.
Sports and Ron, yes.
I'll have that on the March agenda as well.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, he gets that to me fairly quickly, just because,
Yeah, if he doesn't have it to you within 2 weeks,
yeah, he won't be able to be on the
I don't
agenda.
want it.
Right.
I think we need more time to go over it than the,
Right, and so if that's not here by, the end of the first week of March, the 5th, if it's not here by the 5th, that's 2 weeks basically. I don't think he'll be on the agenda for March.
okay. And
Because
I
again,
would
we
just
need, go ahead.
send him an email to remind him of that so that he has that.
I will do that because I don't think he's still on the line here. He's left the thing. Now, I did say the wrong date in my agenda. It's not the 30th, it is the 29th of March. It's not at 11 p.m. It's at 7 p.m.
Oh, that's good.
So we'll even know. But anyway, so yeah, so
Okay,
that's
and
it
I'm
for
just,
me.
okay, I'm just curious, Tom, have we received a letter from IDA at all?
I keep looking in the mailbox.
Nothing
Yeah.
I'm aware of. No.
Okay.
I know.
So did they just like run off in the dark of night? I mean, without even telling anybody that they weren't doing, that they weren't.
I mean, I got an email from their council, give me the heads up that the vote had occurred. I gather it occurred at a public meeting. I think it probably did. But no, I was told I was going to be getting a letter, or at least the town would be, formally withdrawing. And to my knowledge, it's never come. Now, the U.S. mail is pretty slow these days.
It is.
We'll give them that. So I don't know if it's that slow, but
Right. So when it was a vote, was it the IDA who voted or the county
Yes.
council?
The IDA.
I believe it was the IDA.
IDA.
Yeah, at their meeting at the end of January, I think.
And I think they have a meeting, is it this Wednesday or this Thursday?
Yeah, they made it at the end of every month, so
Okay.
we do. So, yeah.
So there might be more information next planning commission, hopefully, in a positive.
I'm just, wondering, it's out of our hands, so it's their decision.
Yep.
All right, does anyone have any other thing, any questions for John? Okay, seeing none, do I hear a motion?
Yes. Make a motion to adjourn at 8:29.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We adjourn the meeting, 8:29. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, see you on March the 4th.